As soon as I walked through the front door, the smell of freshly roasted chicken hit my nose and made my stomach rumble.
Your dinner is on the table. Come and get it whilst it's hot.
Thank you, Grandma. You always make the most delicious food.
You are welcome, my darling. I love to see you eating well.
I started tucking into my dinner. I felt so lucky to be living with my grandma. She took such good care of me and always made sure I had everything I needed.
Shall we watch a movie together after dinner, darling?
I had been hoping to go out and meet my friends, but I knew that my grandma liked me to stay at home with her. Sure, that sounds like a great idea. Suddenly, there was a loud knocking at the door.
Well, I wonder who that can be at this time of night.
My grandma went to see who was at the door. But as soon as she opened it, 4 men wearing black masks came bursting through. They took one look at me and pounced on me. Ah! Leave me alone! Who are you? I tried to break away from them, but they were too strong. My grandma started screaming at them, but they just ignored her. The next thing I knew, someone had put a blindfold over my eyes, and I was being bundled into the back of a car. Let me go! Let me go!
Be quiet and you won't get hurt.
I started to panic when I heard the man say that. What are they gonna do to me? Where are they taking me? They drove a short distance and then the car stopped. I heard the door open and felt hands pulling me out of the car. I stumbled along. It was difficult to walk when I couldn't see a thing. A few seconds later, they took my blindfold off. I blinked a couple of times from the glare of the light. When I managed to focus, I could see that I was in a small room, like a prison cell. I was surrounded by men, dressed in black and wearing full black face masks. I had no idea who they were or what they wanted with me. Look, I don't know who you're looking for, but it's definitely not me. I don't have any money. I'm not worth anything. Please, just let me go and I won't tell anyone about what happened. But they didn't let me go. They didn't even say a word to me. They just left the room and locked the door behind them. That night, as I lay on the bed in the cell, I sobbed and sobbed. My tears felt strangely heavy as they rolled down my cheeks. Well, it's hardly surprising, is it, after what I had just been through? And little did I know that what was coming next was going to be even more traumatic. By now, you're probably thinking, what more could possibly happen to this girl? Well, wait until you see what happens at the end of this video. You will not believe your eyes. When I woke up the next morning, my eyes were heavy and swollen from crying all night. I could hardly see anything through my swollen eyelids. I began to think about the events of the night before. I just couldn't think of any reason why they would want to kidnap me. I mean, I was just some ordinary kid. There was definitely nothing special about me. If my grandma had been wealthy or even famous, then it might have been a ransom they were after. But we didn't have any money, and my grandma wasn't famous. There was just nothing that I could think of that would explain the kidnapping. Maybe it's a case of mistaken identity. Yes, that must be what it is. They're probably just gonna come along and set me free once they realize their mistake. But then I noticed something. Something bright and shiny. I haven't been able to see it last night in the pitch black, but this morning, with the daylight streaming through the tiny window of my cell, I could see hundreds of tiny gold droplets on the floor of the cell. I picked one up and inspected it. Oh my god, it's like a little gold teardrop. I was so shocked. I had no idea where they had come from. But before I had any more time to think about it, the cell door opened and the man from the night before came in.
Good work. We knew you were the right one.
What do you mean? What are they talking about? I demand to know what's going on. But instead of giving me an explanation, they just ignored my questions and let me out of the cell and into another room.
Now, get to work. Start crying.
I looked at the man in confusion. I don't understand. What do you want from me?
Just do as we tell you. Start crying now.
But why?
It doesn't matter why. Start crying now, or we will give you something to cry about.
I began to feel really afraid when the man said that. I had no doubt in my mind that he meant every word, so I closed my eyes and began to think about my grandma and how much I missed her. It wasn't long before the tears started rolling down my cheeks. But something felt strange. and then I heard the sound of something hard dropping on the floor. I opened my eyes in confusion. What I saw shocked me to the core. Where my tears had fallen onto my skin and onto the ground was now covered in tiny gold teardrops. I couldn't believe it. Have I made those golden teardrops? The men started cheering and clapping loudly.
Good job, well done. We knew you could do it.
They started gathering up all of the gold drops and putting them into a sack.
Take her back to her cell. She has done enough work for today.
One of the men led me back to my cell.
Wait here and I'll bring you something to eat.
Please, just tell me what's going on. How can I produce those golden teardrops? But the man didn't give me any answer. He just went out of the cell, locking the door behind him. When he returned, he opened the door and slid a plate inside. He didn't even bother to come inside. As I ate my meal in silence, I thought about what had just happened. It's crazy. How can this be happening to me? The following morning, the same thing happened. And the day after, and the day after that. It was the same routine each day. I would wake up, go to the bathroom, eat, and then the men would take me to the other room and tell me to cry. After a while, it became difficult to make myself cry. I was worried that the men would harm me, but luckily they came up with a better solution. One day, when they could see that there was no way that I was going to be able to produce any tears, they brought in a TV and put on a sad movie. It wasn't long before the tears started flowing again. At the end of each day, I was absolutely exhausted. I suppose that producing the gold tears must have had a draining effect on my body. Each night, as soon as my head hit the pillow, I went sound to sleep. I started to think back to my childhood, wondering if I could remember any time when I might have produced some gold tears. But I couldn't think of a single time when I had ever cried. I had never really thought about it before. I guess I was just used to having a happy life. I mean, why would anyone want to be miserable? I know that my grandma always made sure that I was happy. She used to tell me that it wasn't good to be sad, that we should always be happy. I remember one time my friends had told me about this really good movie. They suggested that I watch it with my grandma.
You will love it. It's a real tearjerker.
But when I told my grandma about it, she was adamant that I wasn't allowed to watch it.
I've told you before, nothing good comes from being sad. Why would you want to watch a sad movie? No, I know of a really nice movie. We can watch that instead.
And another time, I was at school when my sports teacher announced that the school was starting a girls' soccer team.
We will be starting practice next week. Anyone can join. You don't need to have had any experience playing before.
I was so excited. I'd always wanted to play soccer. Please, miss, can I join the team?
Of course you can, but you will need to get a consent form signed by a parent or guardian before you are allowed to join.
I took the form home and showed it to my grandma. Can you sign this, please, Grandma? My school needs your permission to let me join the girls' soccer team. But instead of taking the form and signing it, my grandma looked at me horrified.
What? Soccer? No. That's definitely not a good idea.
But why? I think it would be so much fun.
But you might get hurt.
Oh, don't worry, I'm a big girl.
No, darling. I really don't think it's a good idea. We don't want you getting hurt. It might upset you.
Oh, please, Grandma.
No, I'm sorry. I've made my mind up. Why don't you look for something else to join? Maybe the chess club or something like that. Yes, I think that would be a much better idea.
It didn't matter how much I pleaded with my grandma, she just wouldn't change her mind. I was upset that I wasn't allowed to play soccer, but I knew that she was just being protective of me. It was the same as the time when the school organized for us to go to a rock climbing wall. My grandma came along to watch us, but when she saw one girl get halfway up and suddenly burst into tears from the nerves, she then decided that I shouldn't try it at all. The more I thought about it, the more I wondered if I had always had the ability to cry gold tears, but I'd just never known. Suddenly, I heard shouting in a hallway outside my cell. Then the shouts turned into screams. Ah! I was petrified. What is happening? I had no idea who or what it was that was out there, but whatever it was that was causing all the commotion was probably scarier than the men who were holding me captive. And suddenly, the scream stopped, and I could hear footsteps walking towards my cell. I stepped back into the corner of my cell and held my breath. I was praying that the footsteps would keep on walking past my cell and far away, but they came to a stop. The next thing I knew, my cell door was opening, a shadow appearing in the doorway. I was so scared. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would jump right out of my chest. Then the person stepped into my cell. I was so shocked when I saw who it was. Grandma!
Come on, we've got to get you out of here.
But what about the kidnappers? Where are they?
Don't you worry about that. Come on, we don't have time to hang around. We must get out of here, now.
When we got home, Grandma didn't waste any time.
Start packing your things in your suitcase. We need to go away for a while.
But Grandma, I don't understand what's going on. What are we running away from?
Just do as I say. We don't have time to lose.
I was so confused. Nothing added up. Then a thought came into my head. Grandma, how did you know where to find me? My grandma turned and looked at me, but she didn't answer. I began to shake my head. There was definitely something strange going on, but I didn't know what it was. Could my grandma have known all along that I could shed golden teardrops? Is that why she never wanted me to watch a sad movie or get hurt in any way? And another thing. What happened to the kidnappers? How did you manage to defeat all of them and get past them to reach me? There were at least 6 of them, and they were all big, burly men. She still didn't give me any answers. She just carried on packing our things into bags. But I was determined to get some answers. Too much had happened in the past few weeks for me to just go along with what my grandma was telling me to do. Grandma, I am not going anywhere unless you explain to me exactly what is going on. And the first thing that I want to know the answer to is, did you know that I could cry golden teardrops? Have you been stopping me from crying all of my life so that I wouldn't discover my ability? Grandma, I demand to know. If you want to know if my grandma gave me any kind of explanation or if I managed to find out the truth, make sure to tune into episode 2 because I guarantee you, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. You won't regret it. You won't regret it.